Going back to March, when all of this began to break, every step of the way I consulted with my administrative team, I consulted with the board chair, we consulted with the school doctor, the school lawyer, and as we had to pivot so many times in terms of extending our remote learning in the spring, the model was pretty much in place for what we had to do in the last couple of weeks as well. What I also did is I appointed a school reopening task force, and each department had representation, and then each division had 2 teachers representing their division. That task force worked incredibly hard over about a 3 or 4 week period. I broke them into 2 teams. One was an operational team, and then the other working group was more the academic side of things. They came back with recommendations, and then I had the administrators look at the recommendations, look at the realities, look at what needed to be done or spent, and that led us to a final document, which then informed us on our first set of steps. So it was a very inclusive process, and then obviously when Governor Murphy made the announcement on a Friday afternoon press conference that he believed all students in New Jersey deserved the right to be able to learn remotely from home in the fall. That obviously changed our original reopening plan, which was to be live with masks, face shields, plexiglass dividers on every desk, in every office, in every public space. So we had to pivot again. And as I thought about it and I talked to the administrative team, it just made sense to give people the option to have their child home. I didn't, however, want it to be for a semester or even a quarter. I wanted to put it in more manageable chunks for many reasons. One is because this keeps changing constantly. So, who knows 5 weeks into the fall where we're going to be. We could be scenario D and be completely remote. So we put it together by logical breaks in our academic calendar, and it works out to about 5 weeks at a clip. And so families that choose to have their child learn remotely tell us in writing. Those who want to have their child on campus will tell us in writing, and they need to essentially re-up or re-enroll for the next segment, which would be from fall weekend to Thanksgiving break. We've spent a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of thought on trying to do what is the right thing for our kids and for our faculty and staff.
Due to the fact that we're entering a time and a school year where the health of our nation and of our community is in question and may change throughout the months of the school year, we had to look differently at how we prepared for instruction this year. Both the upper and the lower school division heads participated in specific coursework this summer on hybrid learning, and we've implemented cadence and some templates behind how we're going to look at learning for this school year. Our teachers are going to be uniform in how they design what they're going to share with their students in learning this year, but the creativity of each subject will change. There'll be a template that the teachers will create so that if a child is outside of school and doing remote learning for whatever the reason, they'll be able to join in live classes and also follow the template for the instructions that they need for their learning. This will allow us to be able to go in and out of in-person instruction throughout the year as needed. But it'll also still support that in-person instruction and the creativity and the differences that teachers bring to the classroom. Our goal is to open and to have our students here with us for full days of learning every day. We can't predict what the future holds, but we want to be prepared for whatever comes our way. I know that in the upper school, they're also taking different strategies as they approach their learning for this year as well.
In the upper school, our templates are called unit syllabus sheets. And these sheets will outline what is happening in class during a day, what the homework is. They will also share with students what resources they need for the day. Lockers will not be available or open to students during the year, and we want to make sure that we can lighten a student's backpack whenever possible. So this will be an important new addition to our template. Faculty will also share with students when they are available for office hours, how they can set up a conference with them. These will be important resources for students both who are on campus in person and for students who are joining us remotely. Our goal is to have transparency and clear communication with our students so they can be excited about the learning that's happening at Oak Knoll.
When we return to campus on September 9th, we will return to a full day of instruction. Of course, some days have been designated as half days. In particular, our first day of school is always a half day for upper and lower school, and our first 3 days are half days for kindergarten. But other than regularly scheduled half days, we will be in session all day.
We hope that all of our students remain healthy throughout the year. In an instance where a child does become ill, then we encourage them to stay home and get healthy. Their focus should be on their health and being able to come back to school full time. If they are home for several days, they can also request to participate in the remote learning option that would be available for students who are not on campus learning.
We're going to follow the same maximum space guidelines we have in the past. Due to the plexiglass and the masks and face shields that will be in place, our students will remain safe.
In the upper school, students will be able to remove their masks at lunch or to eat their snacks, to drink water throughout the day. We encourage girls to stay hydrated and healthy. Otherwise, students will be expected to be wearing their masks in the upper school, both in class and as they move between classes. In the upper school, students have been asked to wear face masks that are either white, blue, black, or gray. They need to be plain in color with no logos or designs on them. Students will have the opportunity to buy a school uniform mask that will be creative in nature and showcase school spirit in fun ways. Those are being designed as we speak. The faculty will also be wearing face masks and will have the option to wear a face shield while teaching, as long as they are maintaining 6 feet of social distance between themselves and their students.
Students in the lower school will be required to wear a face mask to school in the morning, when they leave in the afternoon, and when they're in transitions or out of the classroom using the restroom during the day. To make this as attractive as possible to our younger students, we are allowing them to choose any face mask that's comfortable to them and that they enjoy wearing. We know there's so many different styles out there. We want to make sure that if they are wearing this, they enjoy wearing it as much as possible. In the lower school, we send a mailer towards the end of August, and in that includes your car sign for car line and some other important information. And in that envelope, you will find a sheet that indicates your child's class placement for the school year.
In the upper school, students will be able to receive their schedules through MyOKS starting on August 17th. This is also the same day as our 9th grade orientation. So we'll be excited to walk through our 9th grade students as well through their schedules. Classrooms will be cleaned between classes. There are additional facility staff being added in order to help facilitate the cleaning of classrooms. In common spaces, we are ordering non-toxic wipes so that students and faculty can also clean desks or spaces themselves using non-toxic wipes. A space like this would be, for example, the library would be a common space where we'd have these available. For the high school students, they were also assigned to specific classrooms for as many of their classes as possible. So for example, the Connolly building will house grades 7, 8, 9, and 10 mainly. And then the Grace Hall will house the 11th and 12th grade classes. Specialty classes will continue to happen in their specialty locations, and students will move between buildings. There will be signage along the hallways indicating what direction the halls are going and which direction the stairs are going. We're placing those signs at eye level so they are visible and clear to all students. Outside of doorways, there will be round dot markers to help students with social distancing as they transition to a new classroom space.
Our assessments in the lower school will continue to be a combination of both digital and in person other than paper and pencil. So to that effect, if you are showing knowledge at the end of a unit, you might have a test that's online via a Google Doc or through a test in the Seesaw platform. However, there are times when you will show your knowledge in other ways besides paper and pencil, and we'll continue to do that for both formative and summative assessments.
In the upper school, formative and summative assessments will continue to be a hybrid of both online assessments and paper and pencil assessments as they best suit each individual circumstance.
Lower school students will be seated in a specific and assigned seat in their classroom, and that will be their desk and their learning space ongoing. There are times during the school year where we change seats and mix it up a little bit, and at that time those desks will have been thoroughly sanitized, as they will ongoing, before a student sits at a new desk.
In the upper school, there will be seating charts for each class that will indicate to students where their seat is in the class. These will also be updated so that students can sit in different locations in the class throughout the year. For grades 7 and 8 who have more fixed groups for their classes, there will ideally be assigned seats as well for those students.
As we enter into this hybrid school year, there are a couple changes that will take place in the lower school that I want to share with you. The first is that our students will be taking home their one-to-one devices each night. They'll have to be extra careful, but sometimes they'll have homework, especially the older students, on those devices. For our pre-K, K, first and second graders, they use iPads during the day for their learning, and they'll bring those home at night in sturdy cases for protection. The grade 3 through 6 will have new Chromebooks this year, and they'll be bringing those home at night. A new responsibility for all students and parents will be to charge those devices at night so they're ready for the next school day. However, should we have to go to remote learning at any time, they'll have their devices and they'll be ready to start learning the very next day. The other thing that's important to know is that transparency needs to be at an all-time high when we're dealing with a hybrid learning situation. To that effect, we've decided that we'll be having an open gradebook this year. In the past, teachers gave interim reports and shared grades at different times during the trimesters. But starting this year, students will have access to the teacher gradebooks online through MyOKS. We'll share more about how to access those as school begins, but you'll be able to easily track assignments that have been completed, grades on assessments, and your child's progress all along the way. We hope that these two pieces will benefit all the students and parents as we move into this hybrid learning school year.
Collaboration is a key piece to learning in the upper school and is something that, as we have students who are in person and remote, we want to keep as a core feature of all of our classes. One of the fantastic things about Zoom is it does let you collaborate both while you're in person with somebody and while others are remote. Upper school students will be asked to bring headphones to each class with them so that they can, when necessary, be on their devices and have collaborations using the technology to facilitate that while also being able to remain at their desk with the plexiglass shields. So technology is a great asset in helping us create spaces where students can collaborate and maximize their learning.
Desk and plexiglass dividers will be cleaned either manually by our current maintenance staff and cleaning contractor or with the use of ultraviolet lighting systems purchased for classroom disinfecting. Cleaning will take place between classes when students exit their designated learning spaces and again during after-school hours. Ultraviolet-based air filtration systems will be installed in other gathering places like the upper school library and the dining hall. The dining hall will continue to be utilized for lunch periods. Dining hall capacity has been reduced by up to 65%, with the overflow being served in HVAC controlled tents and classroom spaces if necessary. plexiglass dividers are being installed on all lunch tables, creating individual cubicle spaces for each student. Tables will be spaced 6 feet apart. Prepackaged lunches will be served for students to enjoy. Ultraviolet-based air filtration systems will be installed in the dining hall for sanitizing purposes.
The one thing I want to get across is that everything changes every day. We are in touch with the CDC, we're listening to the governor, and just new things happen. So at this time, this is the information that we have. We are asking that if you are not feeling well or have any symptoms of the virus, which would be fever, coughing, shortness of breath, body aches, loss of smell or taste, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, and especially fatigue. If you or anyone in your family have these symptoms, you should really be tested. We do not do testing at the school. You have to either go to a New Jersey site or a private physician can recommend where you should go. If someone from Oak Knoll does test positive for the virus, whether it be a teacher or a student, after they are tested, the lab sends that information to the local Board of Health, whatever town the student or the teacher lives in. That Board of Health then does what is called contact tracing, which means they go back and see who was exposed to this person in school, what their contact was there social distancing, anything that they feel would be contagious. They take care of that. It's not on the school. So the family should notify us that there was a positive either in their family or with themselves. And then we just call the Board of Health, the local Board of Health, to confirm all the results. The Board of Health will do the contact tracing, and they notify people on campus whether they need to isolate or quarantine. It's up to the local Board of Health. If you are positive, we should quarantine for 14 days. You have to be symptom-free for 4 days and fever-free for 3 days before you can even be retested. So to return to campus, we have to have you have to test negative, and then we have to have a note from your physician verifying that you are able to return to work or to school. And then the best way to avoid getting sick by an asymptomatic carrier is social distancing. Masks are important. They should be worn by everyone who comes on campus, but the best thing you could do is social distance, because this way, whether the person is asymptomatic or not, you have that much going for you. So we're going to do daily temperature checks on students as they arrive on campus. Faculty members will be doing their temperature check at home, and if they have any symptoms, we ask you please do not come in and get yourself checked. A temperature of 100.4 or above is considered a fever. That individual will not be able to remain on campus. They must go home. You can get fevers from other things, not only from COVID. I mean, it could be strep throat, it could be, the regular flu, but that's the line that we're drawing just to keep everybody safe. If the student comes in and does have 100.4 or above, we will give them about 5 minutes to sit aside, just in case it was maybe they're in a hot car or walking into school. So we do give them about 5 minutes, and then we do a recheck on them, see if the temperature has decreased. And if there's any question, of course, during the day, the nurses will be available to double check their temperatures. We also have set up in both our nurse's office in the lower school and the upper school an isolation area, so that before a student even comes into the nurse's office, we will be checking their temp. Anybody with a fever will be isolated, put into another room until a parent can come to pick them up. In the upper school, we've separated the room on both sides. One side will be considered the first aid, well side, and the other side will be for anyone with cough, fever, or other symptoms that we feel is suspicious.
Our plan this fall is to offer interscholastic athletics for grades 7 through 12. And until we're told that we cannot do so safely, then we will pivot to offering intramurals on campus for the same grades 7 through 12. What those specific intramurals will all be sort of dependent upon our numbers, our space availability so that we can properly socially distance, and just the interests of the students themselves. So the plan as of now is to continue to offer the interscholastic grades 7 through 12 sports, with middle school sports being cross country, field hockey, and soccer. Those would happen 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, all based here on campus. Our high school sports would be Monday through Saturday for some of the sports, Monday through Friday for others, and those would be at our Chatham facility or on campus for cross country or off campus for sailing and tennis. The specific details we're still working on based on the fact that the NJSIAA oversees all of the rules and details of interscholastic athletics in New Jersey, and they're sort of a fluid organization right now as they make changes, updates, and corrections to their plan. But as of now, there is a return to play protocol put into place to begin September 14th, at which point we would have essentially a little less than a month to just run our own practices and then shift once October 1st hits to some actual interscholastic activity that has game limits. So we would not be playing competition every single day. There's limits to the number of games that we would have each week, and also for travel purposes we would be keeping it as close to campus as possible. But more to come from that. We're waiting for our Union County conference to send us our updated schedules, which we're supposed to be getting the second week of August. The fact is, we're going to do everything in our power to offer a safe interscholastic or intramural athletic program for the students that choose to be part of it. Our plan for the fall for 5th and 6th grade athletics is to offer 1 day a week for 5th grade and 1 day a week for 6th grade. So 5th graders will be on Tuesdays, 6th graders will be on Thursdays, and they will be doing intramural sports with their PE instructors and coaches, Mr. White and Mrs. Hartman. The purpose with this is they will be in class together all day in a grade-based cohort, so it does not make sense to mix the 5th and 6th grades right now as we're sort of all navigating this challenging time. So the guidelines that we have been given so far from the State Athletic Association has been pretty direct with the fact that social distancing should be happening as much as possible outside of the actual playing surface. So anytime students are getting water, or if they're a substitute, or if they're waiting to get access to a drill, social distancing needs to be practiced. But as far as the actual competition, the actual interscholastic component, social distancing will not be possible as we're playing a soccer game or playing a field hockey game. They're not changing the rules. At least that has been very clear from the state so far. They've also made it clear that while playing, a student does not need to wear a mask. They need to wear a mask when they leave the field to get in a vehicle, when they go and get water, or go to the bathroom, they need to have a mask on. Or if they're a substitute on the sideline, they need to have a mask on. But as far as the actual physical activity of playing a sport, there is no plan to make it mandatory for a student athlete to wear a mask and also practice social distancing. It would be very challenging to run interscholastic sports and keep the 6 feet of social distance. So what we're saying to all of our families of all of our grades, it's a very important and very specific to your family decision that needs to be made, whether or not your child should be playing a sport this fall. These rules are very fluid. They're changing both in the professional sports arenas all the way down to high school. What we have to do come September might be very different than what we're currently doing now. So our best advice to everyone is to really think about what makes the most sense for your child. It will be everything, we will do everything we can possibly do to offer a safe opportunity to have some type of physical activity after school. So the plan is if interscholastic sports are halted, but we're still able to be on campus for our academic purposes, we will offer something after school. It might be a combination of strength and conditioning that will be socially distanced, yoga or bring your own mat, socially distanced on the field or inside the gym. We've got other ideas for other programs that we would also offer after school in terms of some training opportunities for our student athletes if, in fact, the interscholastic component is removed. Whatever athletics we offer this fall, whether it be interscholastic or intramural, they will be offered only for students who are learning on campus in the academic setting on campus. Virtual learners will not be able to come to campus for any of our interscholastic or intramural athletics this fall.
We are going to be offering the same options that we have in the past. We offer private transportation routes through Bel Air Transport, which we used last year as well. And the town provides busing to and from Oak Knoll on several towns. We have been told so far that the town will continue to offer busing this fall. However, there is that possibility that they may decide to offer aid in lieu to families instead of busing to and from Oak Knoll. At this point, we don't know. As of now, they have told us that they are offering busing to those families that have had busing in the past. We also have a shuttle service that will be running to and from the Summit train station for those students that take the train to and from school. We are offering 2 routes via our private transportation system, and one is in the Bergen County area, which services the Franklin Lakes and Ridgewood towns, and the other one is in Essex County, which services Essex Fells, Caldwell, Verona, and those areas. The students will be transported by Bel Air Transport. Students will all be required to wear masks while they're on the bus, as well as the bus driver, and they will be encouraged to not sit next to anybody unless it is their sibling. Before care has been offered and will continue to be offered beginning at 7:30 drop-off in the morning, and our after-school program this year, in the fall at least, will be offered, but will look a little bit different. In the past, we've offered several different choices of clubs after school, and the students may choose, and they've registered for a particular class. In the fall, we will be offering just one opportunity for everybody that is in need of aftercare. It will be held in the dining room, where we have plexiglass dividers, and the students will be grouped by class, similar to the way they are during the school day. And Mrs. Separulo will be organizing an activity. Some days it'll be outside, some days it'll be in the dining hall. And it will, again, as I said, be one activity for everybody that is coming to school that is eligible to come to our after-school program. We will be including a pre-K option this fall. Everybody should have received a survey, which went out in early August, asking questions regarding who needed aftercare and what time they needed to stay until and so forth. And based on the results of that survey is how we're going to guide the program that we will be offering. Just to note, students must be registered this year. In the past, we've allowed drop-ins on a regular basis, but because of certain restrictions this year, we need to know how many kids we have. We will allow drop-ins only if it's an emergency, and all students that are participating in the program will need to be registered. Registration will be up on the website by mid-August.